You are listening to A Scary State, and this week we're talking about Oklahoma, where the winds come sweeping down the rainy plains. So, Lauren.
Oh, yes, Kenzie.
You should say, okay, Kenzie.
Okay, Kenzie.
Let's get scary.
So I was about to say at the beginning of this, how long do you think we can make it through until that song is sung? And we didn't even get 1 second into the episode.
That was all improvisation, I would like to say. And I think it came out beautifully, besides the fact that I said rains instead of planes. At least it rhymes.
What rhymes?
Rains and planes.
Oh, I was going to say, what part of that song rhymes with planes?
I just got the beginning sound wrong.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but the back half of the word is correct.
I mean, it is so much fun to say.
Exactly. Well, would you like to tell us about Oklahoma?
I would love to.
Right.
Jumping right on into this one.
I don't have any fascinating or creepy stories. Thankfully, my life has been somewhat plain.
Yeah, I don't have any creepy stories either. Like I told you earlier, Joe and I went to go see Abigail, which is a vampire movie. It was really good.
Not a ballerina vampire movie, as I learned.
Well, she is a ballerina, but there's no such thing as a ballerina vampire, for anyone who's wondering. It was good. It was creepy. It had the main girl who's been in the last 2 Scream movies, Melissa Barrera.
Are you asking me or are you asking the audience?
I'm not asking anything. I'm telling.
Okay. Because I'm like, oh, she's talking to them. She's not talking to me. She's talking to the people that also would watch this.
Yeah, but anyone else who would watch this, because Mackenzie certainly won't. That's pretty good. That's pretty good. So now on to Oklahoma, where there are no vampire ballerinas.
That we know of.
That we know of. Want a weekend that's kind of nerdy and a little dangerous? Oklahoma's salt.
She says with her nerdy glasses on.
Oh my God. Okay, so I have blue lens glasses and mine broke at work and it was very sad. And so I only had one of the little thingies. And so they hung crooked and it was annoying.
That would be the arm of the glasses.
Thank you.
For those of you that don't know what the little thingies are.
I couldn't think of that word. So then I saw some on Amazon and I was like, oh, these look cute. Oh, that person looks really cute with these glasses on. So I bought them. There's a 2-pack. One is like the tortoiseshell design. So I brought that to work. These ones look just like your high school nerd glasses when you would pop the lenses out of the 3D glasses. But as we get older, I need to do this for my eyes.
So it's funny that she says want a weekend that's kind of nerdy.
I know. I saw that. I was like,
he looks like a nerd.
Who else should be reading this one? So about that weekend, Oklahoma's Salt Plains National Wildlife Refuge near the town of Jet in the northwest part of the state does not disappoint. The refugee, right? Refugee?
Yeah.
Okay. The refuge is home to an 11,200-acre salt plain that was protected as a stopover for migratory birds. The harsh landscape offers a host of recreational opportunities, yet the real fun is hidden beneath the surface of the crusted salt field.
Here's where the nerd comes in.
The plains are the only known place in the world where visitors can dig for selenite crystals and hourglass-shaped inclusions. Geology geeks will love the experience. Beware, though. The plains were closed for crystal digging from 2007 to 2009 after a Boy Scout unearthed vials of chemicals that were buried beneath the salt plains during World War II. Oh my gosh. Authorities since have determined the area to be safe for tourists, but the federal website for the refugees still carries an ominous warning.
It might be refuge.
Refuge. Yeah, I don't think it's refugee because that's a person.
I think refugee has an extra
E.
Or an extra E. Yeah. Sorry, I just thought about that as you said the last one.
And I even asked you too.
Oh, why did that?
I don't know either. Refuge. Still carries an ominous warning. Happy digging.
I'll keep that part in so that they know that I led you wrong.
Thank you.
And you don't look quite so stupid.
And so that they know we questioned it.
Yes.
You know, so that they know that we didn't just go into it
and
thinking
eventually
we were right.
We figured it out. It's not about how long it takes you. It's about the path that gets you there. I'm not sure if that's how that's
I don't think that's right at all. It's about the destination, not how long it took you to
get there.
Travel. I don't know.
Let's keep going. We're just making it worse.
Yep. The first people may have arrived in what's now Oklahoma 30,000 years ago.
I think that's the most I've seen.
I think so too, actually.
Now, nowhere did it say this is like the oldest finding we have of people in North America or like the United States.
I don't know.
But I've seen like 12,000, 13,000, 10,000.
Yeah.
30,000?
That is a lot.
That's a lot.
That's like weird to think about.
That's like when there were, I'm pretty sure, multiple kinds of human species.
Like we keep talking about?
Like Neanderthals.
Oh, yes.
Although I think some of those made it through to this time.
I am part Neanderthal, actually.
Shut up!
Yeah. Like everyone has, I think it's like 0.2%. Like everyone has that much. We have a little bit more than that. Uh-huh. Don't shake your head knowingly.
You know, I was going to correct myself and say for the men in the family, I think that checks out because I think the women really just powered through it. Have some brains in there.
Yeah, when I went to the National History Museum, I saw the Neanderthal.
The natural or the national?
Natural?
The one in DC?
Yeah.
Natural.
Oh, okay. So we went there.
Yeah.
And there was a Neanderthal exhibit and I took a picture and I sent it to Grandma. I said, our ancestors.
You know, we love that.
Oh boy, okay.
It makes you feel better. You don't have a very pronounced
I
head.
don't, thank you.
Or like the protruding
and I do feel
eyebrows.
like I am smart. So
I think so.
Thank
That's
you.
why I ask you questions to confirm everything I say because I believe you're smarter than me.
Thanks, Kenzie.
And then you're like, I don't know. I'm like, well, crap. Who's gonna correct us?
I don't know, maybe the teacher.
Well, look, I maxed out at 5th grade, okay? So anything that's beyond their knowledge that they need, I am not responsible for. Therefore, do not take the time to learn it. Although I was partially late today because I got distracted watching on TikTok weird origin stories of like phrases that we say now. And it was fascinating.
You are the dork. You should be wearing these glasses.
When I come to the word.
In the late 1830s, many Native Americans were forced to leave their homelands in the eastern United States and relocate to what's now Oklahoma, which was then called Indian Territory. That's not great.
Mm-mm.
In the 1980s, part of Indian Territory became Oklahoma Territory. Then in 1907, the Indian Territory and Oklahoma Territory were combined again to become the state of Oklahoma. Today, members of over 30 tribes still live in Oklahoma. Wow. Oklahoma is one of America's top producers of petroleum, crude oil, and natural gas. People come from around the world each summer to see Native American artwork and dance performances at the annual Red Earth Native American Cultural Festival in Oklahoma City. Oklahoma is in an area called Tornado Alley, a place in the United States where tornadoes occur very often. This area lies in zones that have various temperatures, strong winds, and a weather pattern that changes drastically in a short time. About 62... What?
Couldn't be me.
Oh. About 62 tornadoes hit Oklahoma yearly.
5 a month. 5 tornadoes a month. That's 1 a week.
Ew. Oh, yeah, with 62. So that's the highest number of tornadoes hitting a location anywhere in the world. One of the major tornadoes that hit Oklahoma happened from April 27th to April 29th, 1912. A 2-day tornado.
Multiple tornadoes that hit Oklahoma. One of the... Oh, maybe. Yeah, 2 days. Maybe it was like 11:59 p.m. on the 27th to 12:01 on the 29th. So
that's still 24 hours.
Yeah, but it's not 2 days. It's just a day.
Okay. Around 6 violent tornadoes hit the state and affected about 16 cities, killed 40 people, and injured 120.
So it's one of the 6, apparently.
Wow.
I think.
There was recently a tornado that hit in Nebraska and somewhere within the past week.
Yeah, I saw everyone praise this guy for finding humor in very stressful and awful situations. He is wherever that got hit, and I guess he has a security system, and it's telling him that the patio is open, the patio door.
Oh, geez.
And you see him turn his camera, and it's just his whole place is trashed. Clearly a tornado went through it. And, everything's broken. There's glass everywhere. You name it, it looks like it. He gets to the patio. He closes the door. There's no, what is that called? Not screen.
Frame.
No, there's the frame. The window part is gone.
Oh, my God.
And he's like, all right, there we go. Now we're safe. It's you know what, man? Everyone was first off, I'm so sorry. Second off, that is fucking hilarious.
Oh my God. I couldn't.
You know
that old movie Twister? There's a new one coming out called Twisters.
No, I'm excited.
I am very excited. And it doesn't hurt that the main guy's so attractive.
That's what made me watch the first one.
Well, they kept up with it and it looks really good.
So is it 2? As in they continue on?
I think it's
or is it a remake?
Dealing with twin twisters.
So it's
That's why it's called Twisters.
So it's a slight remake. It's not
Yeah, I think it's a slight remake.
Because I really don't like this whole trend of 23 years later, here comes the second one. I'm
Yeah, no, I think it's a remake, but they're dealing with twin twisters.
That's fine. That's cool. I don't mind those.
Yeah.
I don't mind those.
No, it looks good. I'm gonna watch it.
It's only part is that it's a little sad to me now that I'm going to be the person saying, I remember the original.
I know.
My parents used to say that.
I
And I was
know.
like, okay, weirdo.
Yeah, ours is better. And yeah.
And now I am that person.
I know. I know. A lot happens as you get older.
Yeah. Not all of it good.
Like you have to wear nerd glasses to look at your computer screen.
Every day. Any screen. Any screen ever.
I know, it sucks.
I've started wearing them now with like my new iPad because I'm like, wow, this is bright now that I can see the whole screen.
Mackenzie.
And I was like, this is a lot. I gotta tone it down.
Yeah.
But then I can't see words.
I know, so then you have to turn it back up.
Turn it back up.
I get it. So one of the most popular road attractions in Arcadia, Oklahoma is the soda bottle sculpture named Bubbles. It stands 66 feet and 4 tons, or 8,000 pounds.
4 tons is 8,000 pounds.
Yeah.
Oh.
There's things outside. I'm not looking at you, stupid. There's a noise that I was trying not to get picked up.
Well, I'm definitely keeping that in.
That's why I said 4 tons or 8,000 pounds.
Oh, I didn't hear that part.
Oh my God. Made of yellow steel rings with thousands of LED lights. Each night, the bottle lights up and features a stunning light show. I didn't know how you didn't hear the whole, like, outside.
I'm in the zone, man. This is the best part of ADHD is that everything else gets drowned out. So I don't hear anything, which is probably why I get scared so easily.
That could be, yeah. So the Atomic Annie was the first and only nuclear cannon. The cannon measures 84 feet, or 25 meters long, and measures 85 tons, or 170,000 pounds. Atomic Annie can fire a nuclear weapon with a range of around 20 miles. It can also destroy a large number of enemies in an instant. It has been placed in Fort Still, Oklahoma since 1964.
Scary.
That is really scary. Cimarron. Right.
I'm keeping that one in there for sure.
Cimarron is the least populous county in Oklahoma with approximately a 2,081
Hold on. Population of.
There we go. There we go.
Dragon. And action.
Cimarron is the least populous county in Oklahoma with approximately a population of 2,081 with a growth rate of negative 1.33% in the past year. It has a total area of 1,841 square miles or 4,770 kilometers squared.
Square kilometers, but yeah.
Oh. By area, Cimarron is the 4th largest county in Oklahoma and the only one in the United States that borders 4 states: Kansas, New Mexico, Colorado, and Texas. On July 16, 1935, the world's first parking meter, Parkometer number 1, was placed on the southeast corner of Robinson Avenue and 1st Street in Oklahoma City. Well, that sucks because they started a really awful trend.
Correct.
Because I hate them.
Yeah.
I went to this one, there's this brewery on top of a building near where we live, and the parking lot for like hours 0 to 1 or 0 to 2, it's free. 2 to 4 is $8, and 4 to 6 is $16.
Damn.
So if you're there for 4 hours and 1 minute, it is $16.
Jesus.
Yep.
That's quite.
It was so expensive, and then after that, the max is like $25 for the day. I know.
I mean, for the day, okay, but if you're only gonna
if you're there for 6 hours and 1 minute,
right,
paying $25,
right?
Because I was so proud of myself. I only got like 2 drinks at the bar, and I was like, my bill is only like $10, super cheap. And then
make up for it in parking.
Yep. And I was like, well, this is stupid.
Yeah. I'm sorry, buddy.
I know. And that was when I had to go on an elevator too. It was just all around not my favorite place to go.
See, your story connected to that fact is much more on topic than my story connected to that fact. Was going to ask if you want to know why we say o'clock when we say like 12 o'clock or 1 o'clock. I saw the O in Parkometer.
Do you have the answer for why we say o'clock?
Yeah, but I don't know if I should say it on here. Just tell you later because it's not relevant. At least
I think you need to say it now.
Okay, so when like people started making clocks in like I think like the 16th century, something like that, that's when they also had like the bells ringing for every hour. So like 12 bells, 12 o'clock.
Okay.
And so people started saying time differently and they would say 12 of clock. I don't know why. The guy explains it better on TikTok, but.
Is this one of your origin things?
Yes.
Oh.
I learned it this morning. And that's just how they keep saying it until eventually, like a lot of things, things get chopped off and
right.
The F and of got chopped off. So that's why we say 12 o'clock.
That is fascinating.
That's the O. I was like, that's what the O means?
I never thought of that. That
Really?
has never been.
That's never a question?
Nope, it just made complete sense to me, and I said, sounds great.
I mean,
that's how I'm going to say it.
I accepted it.
I
I just wanted
accepted
to know
it.
why.
I never questioned it either, so
There you go.
I was fine with not knowing. But now I'm happy that I know, because I didn't know that it was something I didn't know.
Okay.
Yeah.
I got lots more.
Oh my god, I'm sure you do.
What spooky tea you pouring, Lauren?
I do have some. Okay. So,
Could you imagine?
I know. Wild. So this is the story of Carol Ann Smith and the Hex House.
I saw mentions of this.
Yes, I'm sure you did.
But I went with mine instead.
Good.
And I don't remember what it said.
Perfect.
So
the Hex House, located at 10 East 21st Street, was known as one of the most haunted houses in Tulsa, Oklahoma. It was haunted both by spirits who couldn't move on and the history that the house harbored. Ooh. At this house originally lived Carol Ann Smith. So Carol Ann was born Opal May Carey in May of 1893 in Indianapolis. Her father, Thomas Carey, was a very successful employee of the Indiana Glass Company, and because he was a super successful employee, he made quite a bit. Opal and her sisters, Ethel and Pearl, were all able to attend private school because of their father's wealth.
Mad that they didn't just continue with the gem theme.
I know.
With Ethel.
I know. I was thinking the same thing. I said you have Opal and you have Pearl and then you have Ethel.
Right. You couldn't come up with something else?
Yeah, like Ruby.
Mm-hmm.
Anything.
Mm-hmm.
So while at these schools, Opal studied music. The family was also Episcopalian and attended church regularly. In 1902, Opal's mother... What?
What's the one? Is that the one that people get confused with where you only eat fish?
Pescatarian.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep, that's it.
Okay.
One's a religion, one's a lifestyle. In 1902, Opal's mother, Eva McKee Carey, passed away when Opal was only 9. Her father never remarried, making the family of 4 very close. Then in 1910, Opal and her family moved to Muskogee, Oklahoma, near Webbers Falls. On February 3rd, 1914, 21-year-old Opal married a man named Fay Harold Frank Smith. And see, here's the thing. Like, his name is Fay Harold Smith, but
Okay.
I think he went by Frank. But I don't know if that's a name I really did read in an article or if my brain decided to call him Frank, because every other article only called him Fay. And I was like, he's Frank in my story, so.
It might have been like, I've seen that before too, where like
Okay.
I'll read like a couple and I'll be like, well, like the Earl one.
Yeah.
Like most of the time they call him Earl. And then I was like, what the fuck is Walter?
Right.
Like,
So I'm just going to call him Frank.
okay.
So at this point, they get married. She changes her name to Opal Mary Smith. So Frank worked as a shipping clerk at the Atlantis Supply Company. Things were going really well.
Interesting that would be a job in Oklahoma.
Yeah. Well, shipping things.
But there's no water.
Yeah, you don't need to ship things on water.
I know, but
There are
it's-
cars.
But the name of the company is
Atlantis Supply Company. Atlantis,
Right.
not Atlantic.
You think of the ocean though when you think of Atlantis.
Sorry, Atlas. Okay, I can see where you were going. And when I was looking at my notes, I was like, I don't understand.
Oh. Oh my god. Yeah, not so stupid now, am I?
You're really on different pages. Atlas Supply Company.
Okay.
Okay.
Carry on.
All right. Things are going really well for the newlyweds.
Not for you though.
Not for me, though. Until they tragically lost 2 sons.
Oh.
One son was born in 1915 and one in 1919, but both were born prematurely and died within hours of being born.
Mhm.
Opal was then told that she wasn't strong enough to have children and that she shouldn't try again.
Oh no.
So she was devastated because what she wanted more than anything was to have a child.
Mm-hmm.
Many believe that this news truly broke her and broke her mind in the process. Between the births and deaths of her 2 sons in 1917, Frank received a deferment from the draft board for being recently married. So I took that as he wouldn't have to be drafted because he was just married.
I think that's what defer means.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And because this is like, when did World War I start?
It was already started
Okay.
by then. Yeah.
And then when was World War II? 40 something?
Well, when we joined or when it started?
Both.
We joined at the end of 41, right after Pearl Harbor.
Okay.
And it started, I would say 39 is when, because that's when Hitler really started taking over shit.
Okay.
And so there was like a year or 2 there that poor England was just
People learn a lot about World War II from our
getting
episodes.
bombed.
But yeah, so in 1917, not going to be drafted.
Mm-hmm. What's crazy is that then they only called it the Great War because they didn't know there was going to be a second one.
Oh, that's really awful.
Ooh.
Yeah, I don't like that.
Yeah.
By 1930, the couple was living in Casper, Wyoming. It is very possible that the only 2 escalators in all of Wyoming were already here because escalators were invented in 1891. Casper, Wyoming
We talked about this before.
is the state that only has 2 escalators in the entire state.
Yeah.
In Casper.
Yeah.
So they live in Casper.
Okay.
So I'm saying that it's very possible that the 2 escalators were already here. Because escalators were invented in 1891.
Okay. I knew there was a connection to Casper, and I was trying to remember what it should be. That's what you saw my brain doing, thinking.
Yep, that's why I explained to you. So they bounced between Casper, Wyoming and Portland, Oregon for a few years. Yeah, here and here. So they're only separated by one state.
I'm thinking over here.
No, we're not in Oklahoma yet.
Okay.
We were in Oklahoma for...
Wyoming. Okay, see, sorry. I didn't register that you said Wyoming. I'm thinking we're still in Oklahoma. And I'm like, why did we just talk about these escalators? And it's because we aren't in Oklahoma.
We were in Oklahoma for a little bit, and then we're now between Wyoming and Oregon.
Okay.
Yep.
My brain has the everything's plugged in now.
Perfect.
So go ahead.
Perfect. So they bounced between these 2 places for a few years, as Frank's job as a sales manager with the Williamport Wire Rope Company, a subsidiary of the Bethlehem Steel Company, tended to send them all over.
Okay.
Then in late 1930, Opal and Frank were again relocated to Tulsa, Oklahoma, where they moved into the Sophian Plaza apartments where Opal taught music. And the Great Depression hit. In June of 1933, Frank lost his job. But his boss, J.A. Dudley, helped Frank find work as a life insurance salesman. So I read a letter that he wrote, like that the boss wrote. He was pretty much like, of all the people I have to lose, losing you is the worst. Because he didn't want to have to fire him.
Yeah.
So that's why he helped him find another job.
That's nice.
I know.
So is our main chick, she couldn't have kids, right?
Right.
And so is she still...
They're in Oklahoma together.
Okay.
Yeah. Her and
she's
Frank.
teaching music.
Mhm.
So is she feeling better?
We'll get to it.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll get to it. So with his new job as a life insurance salesman, Opal was able to convince Frank to write a $31,000 policy for himself and a $10,000 policy for their housekeeper, Beulah Walker, making her the main beneficiary on both policies. So in today's money, $31,000 is equal to $745,000. And $10,000 is equal to over $240,000. Yeah.
So she'd be almost a millionaire if those
would be.
people died.
Yeah, she would be almost. Yep. Right, like 15,000 below.
750 plus 2.
745 plus 240 would be 985.
Yeah.
So 15,000.
Oh, I see.
Away.
Yeah.
From being a millionaire.
Yeah.
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 I was just thinking 910. So maybe there was still something unplugged. I'm sorry.
We're getting there. We always say these things right before I have another sad sentence to read.
It's called comedic timing.
So tragedy again struck the family on January 24th, 1934, when Frank's car was found abandoned on a road in Sand Springs. His body was found not far on the ground with a single bullet in his chest and his rifle laying nearby. Inside of his hat, he had a note to Opal directing the finders of his body to notify her and give her this note that he had in his hat. Police were involved, obviously, and as they were asking around, they were told by multiple coworkers of Frank's that he was not someone who would commit suicide. So suspicion mounted when it was determined that his body was leaning over the shotgun instead of being knocked backwards by the blast of it, how one would expect the body to be after a shotgun blast.
Okay.
Like, you're not going to topple on top.
You're not going to go forward. The momentum is going to push you back.
Right.
Got it.
Their suspicions grew even more with Opal's reaction. Upon receiving the news, and in the time following, Opal remained very calm. She was also unwilling to open the letter that had been found in Frank's hat. But overall, the incident was ruled a suicide. Soon after, Opal did suffer from a nervous breakdown in response to her husband's death. She continued on living, though, and was able to pay off all of their loans with the life insurance money that she got from her husband's insurance policy. That ended up being around $140 a month, which is what she was getting, which in today's money is about $3,263 a month. I would be very happy with $3,263 a month.
And there are people today that make that.
Yeah. Her friends tried to encourage her to focus on her music again, so she began taking voice and piano lessons at Tulsa University with the goal to eventually teach there. But she was becoming ill and started to find comfort in Christian Sciences, especially after the death of her sons.
Oh, no.
She spent several months in the Colac Clinic in Wichita, Chestnut Hill Sanitarium in Brookline, Massachusetts, and Reb Meyer Hospital in Monahan, Texas. So
As a patient?
Yeah.
Okay.
So she went to all these places kind of to be treated for, like, her sadness, her illnesses.
Through Christian Science.
Well, that's what she was kind of leaning on.
Okay.
To feel better
with
everything. Because remember, she grew up Episcopalian and attended church all the time. So she was very religious.
Okay.
So after returning home, tragedy followed because that following month, in February of 1934,
The housekeeper is dead.
So Oprah and Beulah, her housekeeper, got into a heated argument. Beulah ran outside and was hit by a car.
Sorry, that's not funny, but like, come on.
I know. So the driver of the car was a man named Charles C. Raines. Raines was a captain at the Tulsa Fire Department, but also happened to live in the Sophia and Park Plaza, so the same apartment building.
Hoaxes.
No.
Oh.
He later passed away in 1938 from his injuries from a fire and explosion at an oil and gas field. The investigator who looked into the car accident also died shortly after the accident, though.
Opal.
It was around this time that Opal asked her husband... Nope.
He's dead.
He is dead. It was around this time that Opal asked her father to come live with her after the death of her husband and now her housekeeper. Well, just before he was to move in on September 20th, 1934, Thomas Carey, her father, passed away.
What? Yeah. Did she have a life insurance policy on him?
I believe so.
How can you kill your dad?
Someone who she was so close to also. So according to the United States Census in 1940, Opal Mary Smith was now going by the name Carol Ann Mary Smith.
I was going to ask when that came in.
Yep, right here. And according to that census, she said that her husband, Faye Smith, was still alive and that he was working as the district manager for a wholesale steel company.
But he was dead.
Yep.
Oh.
She also claimed that they had a child together named Donald, who was 17.
Oh.
She also said that she was 31, meaning that she would have had Donald at age 14. Yeah. But she was not 31. She was 47 at the time. Her husband was dead, and Donald was not a real person.
Is this like she's trying to get away with something, or is she living in Delulu Lane?
I don't know. She just kind of, that's what she told the census.
Interesting.
Yep. So Opal bopped around for a few years doing God knows what, and at some point started going by the alias of Meredith Fontaine.
That's a change.
Very much so. So under this alias in 1937, Meredith, Carol Ann, met a woman named Virginia Evans, 31, at a Christian Science bookstore. They became quick friends, and Virginia moved in with Meredith. Then in 1938, just a year later, Meredith met another woman.
Are they still in Oklahoma?
Yeah, we're in Oklahoma for the rest of this.
Cool.
So she meets another woman, 30-year-old Nell Willetta Horner, who went by Willetta at a grocery store.
I would go by Nell.
I know, I think Nell's cute, but she went by Willetta. They also would become quick friends.
Oh my God, you could go by Will. That'd be cool.
Yeah, I would like Nell more, though.
If I'm going to have like an old ass name like that, like if my mom did name me Maxine like she wanted to.
Oh, we had a friend named Maxine. We called her Max.
I would be Max.
I liked it. It was cute.
Yeah.
Okay, so they also became quick friends, and Willetta moved in with Virginia and Meredith at the Sophia and Park Plaza. In 1938, Meredith and the two women were pretty much forced to move out. So
Why?
Meredith was considered a difficult tenant.
Oh.
So the apartment manager decided to raise her rent. Knowing she couldn't afford or didn't want to pay that rent, she was pretty much forced out. Willetta found a duplex at 10 East 21st Street.
Our haunted house.
And the three moved right in. At this point, Meredith again changed her name, now going by Carol Ann Mary Smith. So this is where we're Carol Ann now.
I'm assuming her friends know that Meredith isn't her first name? Wait, okay, she went from Opal
to Carol Ann.
Did she have the same last name then? Sorry.
She was Opal May Carey.
Opal May Carey.
And then she became Opal May Smith.
Okay.
And then she became Carol Ann May Smith. And then she became Meredith Fontaine. And now she's Carol Ann Mary Smith.
Okay.
Yeah.
So her last name is now Smith.
Her last name is Smith.
Got it.
She also had Willetta change her name and sign the rental agreement as Janet Sherman. So how duplexes work? There's one unit on one side and another unit on the other side. So it's like a big house split in two. But you have like your kitchens and all that stuff on each side.
I know.
I'm explaining it for people who might not know.
Well, you looking at me.
I don't know if you're the only person here. I don't know if other countries or places have duplexes.
I feel like they do. They probably just don't call them that. But deux means two in French, so
maybe they do. So the other half of the duplex remained empty for a few years until March of 1942 when Andrew Malek moved in.
Oh, Andrew, I don't see good things happening for your future.
There are not. So Malek was a geologist and he had just moved to Tulsa after getting a job with Sinclair Prairie Oil Company.
Oh my God, my story has a geologist on it too.
Oh. So he was married, and his wife, Dorothy, who was still in Nebraska at the time, would be moving to Tulsa soon within the next few weeks to join him. So he was kind of going there first, starting his job. She was going to come after. Well, Carol Ann wanted him out. So she made Willetta and Virginia act like the neighbors from hell. They would make noise at night to disrupt his sleep. So they did that for a while, but when this didn't work, Carol Ann had Willetta and Virginia go outside and hit Malek on the head and shoulders with a stick. Yeah.
The fuck?
I know. Then one day, Willetta ran across the front yard, claiming that Malek had assaulted and battered her. The police were promptly called and Malek was arrested. His day in court came and the 3 women attended. They all accused him of being a peeping Tom, and they accused him of assaulting and battering Willetta. Judge Oris Shaw of the Tulsa County Courthouse found Andrew Malek guilty of all of the charges. He was fined and forced to move out of the duplex. Take a moment, yes.
How come we're believing bitches then with no
evidence
to corroborate anything of any kind? I mean, maybe it's because we know that they're crazy. But I'm like, we're less respected then. At least that's what I thought. But yet we listen immediately. But now, as far as I know, most people don't really do that anymore.
What, listen to women?
Yes. Or fake being assaulted to get...
I would hope not.
I don't think it's as... I would like to say this. I could be dead wrong. I don't think it's as prominent of a problem as male society would like to make us believe it is. But then you have situations like this. I'm like, oh, so you believe them.
Right.
Like...
But yeah, so now for them, everything on the outside seems great. These 3 friends are living together. They're going to work when they need to. They're coming home. They're just kind of living their life as 3 roommates. They were roommates. But what was odd was that Virginia and Willetta, though they worked hard and made money, were only seen wearing rags and never had any makeup on. So the thing about the makeup is this is a time when women did wear makeup often. Like, you're going out looking nice. They weren't. But Carol Ann was always dressed well and had a full face of makeup on. No matter how much they made, Virginia and Willetta were giving every dime they earned to Carol Ann. As in, they were being forced to turn over their paychecks.
What?
If they turned in their money late, they would get in trouble. Carol Ann was also able to convince Virginia's dad that she needed $17,000 to pay for a nurse who was employed to provide for Virginia's mental health. But Virginia didn't need a nurse, and no nurse had ever been hired. So she just took $17,000.
Oh, this bitch has turned evil.
Yeah. We're in the evil phase of her life.
I was thinking it was like 3 crazy bitches living together.
No.
Oh my God.
So it was around this time, though, in March of 1944, that the Tulsa County Attorney, Dixie Gilmer, had the Tulsa police investigate Meredith Fontaine for fraudulently applying for war ration books. So during World War II, every family received a ration book. So this allowed them to purchase sugar, meat, cooking oil, canned goods,
everything
kind of all of that.
Was rationed, yeah.
So when you bought one of these rationed items, you would turn in a stamp from your ration book. Once you used up all of your stamps, you would have to wait until the next month to get more.
Okay.
The number of stamps you received were based on your household size.
Okay.
So the more family members you had, the more stamps you were given.
Sure.
Well, with Meredith, Carol Ann, what she did was that she ordered 8, saying that they had 8 people living in their duplex. So when Carol Ann went to the collection center, which was Lee Elementary School, she was given her 8 ration books. The names of the children she listed on her application were actually the names of her dogs.
I mean...
One of her dogs was a bulldog named Bonbon. Bonbon was referred to as Bonnie on the application.
I mean, it's wrong, but I too would consider my dogs my children.
Yeah, but not for rations. Like food rations. They did have dog rations, like for dog food.
Huh. Well,
but she was doing it for food.
No, like I said, wrong, but, I get it.
And she would have gotten away with this too if it weren't for those meddling kids. But for real, though, the neighborhood kids did know that Carol Ann didn't have any kids, but that she did have dogs, and they knew the name of the dogs, so they sort of called her out to the distribution center workers. Because rations were a big deal during World War II, this whole ration thing was brought to the attention of the authorities, like I mentioned, leading to Meredith Fontaine being looked into. Because of this suspected crime, authorities decided to raid the duplex. When they first walked in, they found book upon book about witchcraft, magnetism, and mind control.
I was just about to say, at what point do she's a witch rumors start coming in? Because this is very witchy vibes.
Oh, yeah.
Like evil witch.
Right here.
Yeah, okay.
So among these books, they found a handwritten journal which detailed Carol Ann's beliefs that you could control the world around you and the human mind through spells, incantations, and witchcraft.
She's really gone off the deep end here.
A little bit. The authorities also found the house to be completely filled with expensive furniture, a $250 silver set, expensive clothing, 18 pairs of new gloves,
Damn!
26 hats, 45 pairs of expensive shoes, and, quote, enough makeup to stock a drugstore. They also found a Packard car at the house. So at the time, a Packard car was about $2,600. So in today's money, that would be a little over $46,000. So a good new car.
But yeah, like brand new.
Right. So the police continued moving through the house and eventually headed down to the basement. This is where they found Virginia and Willetta in horrid conditions. The two women were essentially in cages, sleeping on orange crates in the freezing cold basement without so much as a blanket, wearing only rags. It was clear that the two had been beaten, starved, and treated with absolute cruelty, all while Carol Ann lived lavishly just upstairs. Mackenzie's face says it all. The women were immediately taken to the hospital while the police continued to search the house. They had been told by neighbors that the neighbors had seen Carol Ann out at midnight in her backyard performing strange burials. So trigger warning for some animal death here. So her yard was searched. Multiple coffins were found, all containing the bodies of dogs. One of these coffins was made out of cardboard, and another was buried 5 feet underground. This one contained the remains of her favorite dog, Bon Bon.
What?
That was super looked into because people knew she had this dog, then all of a sudden she doesn't have this dog. And they're wondering, where did Bon Bon go? So the women weren't allowed to have contact with their families, in addition to not being able to use their real names the entire time they were with Carol Ann.
How did they get roped into this? Or stuck in this? Not even roped in, stuck.
I'll explain.
Okay.
So Willetta's mother, Mary Horner, died in February of 1944, and Carol Ann wouldn't let Willetta attend the funeral.
Oh.
At the time, she had claimed that Mary was no longer Willetta's mother. Also at the time, Paul Horner, Willetta's brother, had begged her to attend the funeral, but she refused. So this is a month later, so still reeling from the death of her mother, which, she told the police everything. Virginia, though, denied all of the allegations.
Oh.
But just a few days later, she came to her senses and filed a police report on Carol Ann as well. The women spoke about
That's
how...
fear talking right there.
Right. So they spoke about how for the past 7 years...
7 years?!
Mm-hmm.
Holy shit.
They had been living under occult belief and or hypnotic conditions brought on by Carol Ann. The women said that they would head off to work and work for 6 days straight, and they willingly would go to work and willingly come back. So Willetta potentially worked at Murphy's Metal Manufacturing, and Virginia was potentially a waitress at Country Diner. I say potentially because I read a story, and I don't know if that was true or not.
Mm-hmm.
The police wanted to know why the women would willingly go to work, then willingly come back to the house, then pass off their hard-earned money to Carol Ann. They said that they were both being hexed to do so, and they also viewed Carol Ann in a way that they kept coming back. Virginia said that she was, quote, hypnotized and mesmerized by Carol Ann, while Willetta said that she and Carol Ann had a mother-daughter relationship. Willetta even went so far as to say that she was under the impression that Carol Ann had adopted her. But remember, Willetta is 30 at this point. Like, she was 30 when she met Carol Ann. So, like,
these people went through, like, crazy psychological manipulation and torture.
Oh, yeah.
To just finally crack and just be like, okay, this is probably the best if I just believe it.
I'm not sure, yeah, because they said they were being hexed into doing all this stuff. That's why they would, like, in other cults and stuff, you have the fear to come back.
Right.
But I don't know, maybe that's what it was too, because they would leave. They would go to work where they worked with other people, and then they would come home.
I mean, there are also those stories too where people are fearful enough that they might leave, but they always come back.
Right. Yeah.
So
there are a ton of stories like that.
And if these are the type of women who can be manipulated easily in terms of psychologically, then it probably wasn't hard for her to use a little physical force to get them to change their minds.
Right. So they went on, though, to say that they had both been subjected to a, quote, purification ritual.
Oh, God.
With the promise of a big reward, either when they got to heaven or with the promise of eternal life. Both very different things.
Very different.
So part of the ritual did include beating and starvation. When asked to elaborate on what this ritual was, neither woman said anything else about the ritual or what this reward entailed. At that point, the women started to cite scripture, quotes, and passages that made no sense to anyone. But by the way they were saying it, it was clear that what they were saying made complete sense to them.
Yeah.
Virginia and Willetta both truly believed that Carol Ann was leading them to a better life, and that in order to have this better life, they just did all that Carol Ann had told them to do. So for about a decade, the 7 years, Carol Ann kept Virginia and Willetta hexed in her house to use as her religious slaves. She beat them in the name of a cult she had devised. I tried to find what this cult was, and I could not.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it wasn't a very big one, as we can see.
3 people, yeah. But, I wanted to find it so badly.
Yeah.
So in addition to physically and allegedly supernaturally controlling the women, Carol Ann also used some forms of sexual abuse or intimidation to keep the women coming back, kind of like we said. On March 28th, 1944, Virginia and Willetta informed police that Carol Ann was actually Meredith Fontaine, who was actually Opal Mary Smith, and Carol Ann was arrested. Opal May Smith, Mary Smith, kind of gets mixed up.
Yeah, she's a bunch of people that she's claiming to be.
Right. So on a Friday in October of 1944, Carol Ann was brought to trial in Veneta, where she was being charged with a number of illicit actions. So one was subordination by making Virginia and Willetta perjure themselves in a previous case. So perjure means willingly telling an untruth while giving evidence to a court, so telling a lie in court after swearing that you're telling the truth. This came from the claim that Willetta made that their old duplex neighbor, Andrew Malek, had assaulted her.
Right.
2, federal charges of mail fraud. This is when she defrauded Virginia's dad across state lines by having him send her $17,000 for the nurse help that she never actually had. So in today's money, $17,000 would be a little over $300,000. Mm-hmm. I know. I know.
Holy shit.
And the main charge, her making false claims and lying to obtain ration books.
That's it? That's all she get? Kidnapping, holding hostage, abuse, none of that.
So she was described by some during the trial as having a lust for money in the limelight, but others felt sympathy towards her, saying that she was broken from the death of her children and her husband. Throughout the trial, she was painted as a clever defrauder, almost a witch. So that's where we're getting our hexes.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me your thoughts. Yes, what are you thinking?
I'm pissed.
I know.
I'm pissed. This is ridiculous.
And there were, of course, some witnesses. So one of them, and there wasn't a ton on her trial, so I couldn't find too much, but this is at least what I found. So some of those witnesses being Dr. Howard A. Welch. So Dr. Welch was one of the doctors who assisted Carol Ann while she was sick. So this is a report that he made about her on May 16th, 1944. He spoke about her diagnosis from him, which is, quote, sciatica hernia. Or in other words, the connection between nervous disease and the outspoken insanity. He said she is unable to think a problem through and that she is extremely susceptible to the influence and suggestion of others. Quote, from her talk and actions, one would think at times she was living in a world foreign to ours.
And this is who again?
Carol Ann.
She's easy?
That's what this
and open to suggestion?
That's what this doctor's trying to say. Another doctor spoke about how he treated her nervousness for years. In these days, that's called anxiety. Her trial lasted only 3 days, and she was found guilty on all accounts. At 51, Carol Ann was sentenced to serve 1 year for her crimes. She served her 1 year at McAllister Prison and was on probation for 3. When she finished her probation, she disappeared and was never seen or heard from again.
That we know of.
Yeah, she could be under a completely different name for all we know. So obviously the newspapers ran wild with this story. The case was super sensationalized. The Tulsa World reported that a, quote, shocking discovery had been made at the Hex House, which had been dubbed after the books of witchcraft had been found, and that the discovery, quote, tends to bear out the sex angle, but it never elaborated. So some speculate that this sex angle, perhaps, is a primitive sex toy that was found among Carol Ann's personal items.
Oh my God.
LOL. The Tulsa Tribune dubbed Carol Ann as the she Svengali. So Svengali refers to a person who has evil intent, dominates, manipulates, and controls others.
That is accurate.
That is accurate. So that's what she was starting to be called all over. So the she Svengali and the Hex House.
Oy.
So kind of like what you mentioned, I find it weird that she was never charged with keeping Virginia and Willetta as religious slaves. They spoke all about what they experienced in Carol Ann's house for almost a decade, yet no charges came from it. And no connection was ever made to the many life insurance policies that she took out on family members who died under mysterious circumstances shortly after those policies were made, like her husband, her father, and her maid, just to name a few. There was also a rumor that Carol Ann had been planning to take out life insurance policies on Virginia and Willetta as well, but never got to it. So the Hex House soon became a site of true terror and scares, especially on Halloween, before it was torn down in 1975. But today, the rock foundation and original front steps can still be seen, though it is rumored that the basement where Virginia and Willetta were held is still there, hidden and sealed off under this new parking lot. And then just down the street, they kind of used the Hex House to make a popular Halloween attraction. And it is still to this day considered one of the 15 most haunted houses in America, both the parking lot and this new little house they made. Though it was torn down long ago, there are still strange reports at the site, such as car lights coming on and shutting off by themselves. People have reported hearing muffled sounds coming from beneath them where the basement is supposed to be. There is also an intense feeling of dread and fright. Some people have experienced that their cars would start and move all around on their own. There are even those who say that the spirits and supernatural beings have tried to talk to them and communicate through the car stereos.
Oh, no.
There have been reports of apparitions in the house before it was torn down and in the haunted house that now operates down the road. So Terry French is a paranormal investigator and now runs the Tulsa Spirit Tours, where she brings people all around Tulsa and tells them the scary tales of the places there. One of the stops is, of course, the plot where the Hex House once stood. When they reached this location, they used to turn the bus off, talk about the place, start the bus again, and continue on. Well, once the bus wouldn't turn back on. So while they're struggling to get it running, one of the guests, who had called Carol Ann Smith a bitch earlier during the tour, suddenly exclaimed, "I'm sorry, Carol Ann." Right after the apology, the bus started up with no problems. Quote, "So we don't shut the bus off there anymore," said French. So there you have it. The Hex House, Carol Ann Smith, her religious slaves.
First of all, Carol Ann, get the fuck out of here. You do not have any right to haunt this house.
Right.
You already got away with all your shit. Go off somewhere else. No one wants you here. Number 2, what kind of fuckery of a world was Oklahoma that all of that just, no, we're only mad about the stamps.
That's what they were mainly mad about. That's what they started investigating. And then they found like, oh, well, you told these 2 people to like lie on the stand. Oh, whatever.
But that's not the way we were investigating. That's just extra info we found out.
And then the mail fraud when you took all that money from her dad. But not the fact that you like made them give you money, not the fact that you kept them in their house, hexed them potentially. I really wish we had gotten supernatural with the trial. Like really delved into that part, but no such luck.
That's insane.
I know.
Like, yeah, bad things happened in that house and justice was never served. So, yeah, bad vibes all around.
Oh, yeah.
Bad vibes.
But yeah.
Wow.
Wild.
Insane. That, like, it just...
And I thought it was going to be like all this stuff about the Hex House and like a little bit of like a precursor for why it's haunted. No. So much.
And all this after losing her 2 kids.
Yeah.
Do they think that this, like, all this stuff happened because of that? Or that was like the precursor?
They think that was like the break.
Yeah.
You know, like that's kind of what did it. Like kind of what sent her off the deep end.
And then she just turned straight evil.
Oh, yeah.
Like...
Because I read somewhere one of the like stories that Virginia Willetta gave was that if they were ever late with their payment, like they gave it like an hour later, they came home late, they would get like severely punished. So they never wanted to be late turning in their paychecks.
I just...
But I wonder if they didn't look more into it because they willingly came home. You know what I mean? Even though there is like the whole like the fear of it and
like
all the abuse,
the things
and
we
stuff.
Understand now versus what we didn't back then.
So maybe it's because they were looking at. They're like, well, you willingly left the house and you willingly came home,
right?
You know,
right?
It's like you could have left, but you didn't.
Versus now, like,
where we know
hung out to fucking dry.
Oh yeah, yep.
The first stuff would have just been like, this is how we found out about all this other crap that this psycho lady did. That would be the focus, like it should be. That's crazy.
I know.
Wow.
So yeah. Carol Ann Smith and the Hex House.
Wow. Just when I thought I knew where it was going.
I know. That's how I was when I was researching too. I would find something and then we would go here. And I was like, oh, and then we would go here. I was like, oh my God.
Good choice.
Thank you.
Yes.
All right. I know you have a wild one today. So what story are you telling me?
I am just going to come right out and say I have no idea if this legend is complete bullshit or maybe has some truth to it.
You were about to say, I have no idea what I'm telling you. No idea.
I know what I'm trying to tell you. Okay. So as we know, with great myths, legends, and folklore, it all starts with a real or imagined incident or event that is worth repeating. It is typically passed along by word of mouth or, this day and age, the internet. It is sent or shared person to person or website to website. In both cases, the origin or who the original storyteller is gets lost in the depths of altered repeats and exaggerations.
Okay.
Oxford University, because I'm high on people here,
yep,
describes a typical legend as having some semi-historical basis and usually has a close connection with a particular place. So think Robin Hood and the Sherwood Forest. The Sherwood Forest is remnants of an ancient royal forest in Nottingham, England.
Okay.
But Robin Hood himself, he's the legend.
Okay.
And then there's also Hereward the Wake, Last of the English, which is an 1866 novel by Charles Kingsley. And it tells the story of Hereward, a historical Anglo-Saxon figure who led resistance against the Normans.
Okay.
And the novel ends up being what makes this guy into a English folk hero.
Okay.
So guy was real. The story that he told, like it's historical fiction, essentially.
Okay.
Is what that is. So that's kind of what we're starting with today.
Okay.
Our real location is Beaver Dunes Park, just north of the town of Beaver. There's a beaver lake in Beaver Park.
Are there beavers?
It didn't say, but it did say that one source I've read was like, yeah, and you guessed it, it's in Beaver County. And the school, all the schools are beaver with a mascot of a beaver.
Very unique.
Yeah.
So you could be a beaver your whole life.
You could be. You really could be.
When I thought I was going to go to tech, I would have been a bird my whole life with all of the schools we attended.
What was your elementary one?
Hillside Hawk.
Oh. See, I would always try to say that and then remember that I was the male red mountain lion. I was like, damn it.
Yeah, I was a hawk, then I was an eagle, then I was a falcon,
Mhm.
and then I could have been a Hokie, but then I became a bulldog.
I became a Highlander, a Scottish warrior, I think.
Oh, fancy.
I like really transformed into all these like apex predators. From a mountain lion to an eagle to a falcon to a warrior. Now I'm a patriot.
Oh.
So there you go.
I'm nothing. I don't have a mask.
You're everything to me. We also have a real historical figure. Francisco Vasquez de Coronado, who was one of the first Spanish conquistadors to search and explore the Midwest, Southwest United States for gold and other riches.
Oh.
Though he had no luck in attaining any gold, it is the recounting of this expedition that supposedly Coronado and that others had. That's how our legend begins.
Okay.
So this would lead the small town of Beaver, Oklahoma, and the panhandle of the state to become associated with the supernatural, strange disappearances, men in black sightings, or a possible UFO crash.
Oh, fun.
The Native Americans called this place Shaman's Portal, and it is also known today as Oklahoma's Bermuda Triangle.
Oh, you know I love my triangles.
I know, and I'm so glad I snatched this up before you did.
Oh, man. I was on a streak with all my triangles.
I know. And when I saw that alternative name, I was like, I'm not even going to put in the spreadsheet. That's going to be a surprise.
Oh, I love it.
Beaver Dunes Park is a 520-acre park that offers dune buggy riding across 300 acres of sandhills, fishing, hiking trails, a playground, and 2 campgrounds.
How fun, first off. Second off, again, I don't think of sand dunes
Correct.
in a state like in Oklahoma.
Yeah, it's from what it sounds like, there's also like foresty areas as well kind of around it.
Okay.
Not just like a desert.
Okay.
So,
Fun.
Yeah. Fun fact about the town of Beaver is that each year it hosts the World Cow Chip Throwing Championship in April. What are cow chips? So glad you asked. It's cow poop. People pick up the dried cow poop and fling it as far as possible. Apparently, the current record was set by Robert Devers of Beavers.
Oh my God.
Who flung the poo 118 feet back in 2001.
Okay. How do you even practice for cow poo throwing?
I
discus
didn't
in high school.
I saw it on like an article about the thing that I'm talking about, and I just looked at that. They have a link to a video, and I was like, it's a real thing, that much I know.
I wouldn't have been able to not look at the video.
Well, I think I had intended to come back to figure out more about what it was, and then I forgot, and then I was out of time. And they say world record, and so I had to Google the world record
of throwing cow poop.
And it was some guy in the 80s, and I wasn't sure if I typed it in right, so that's why I just said current record.
Okay.
I'm not sure if it's the world.
Hey.
So.
Well, we'll give him his time.
Yeah. So like I mentioned before, Coronado and his men explored the area in what is now Arizona, New Mexico, northern Texas, western Oklahoma, and Kansas between 1540 and 1542. It is claimed that the natives of the area were very quick to warn him that there were strange forces at work here, yet he continued undeterred.
They never listen.
No. But good stories for us.
Oh, yeah.
At some point, he allegedly writes that 3 of his men were hit by green flashes of light, after which they vanished without a trace to never be seen again, in a bizarre incident Coronado would describe as, quote, the work of the devil.
Ooh.
Some say this was written by Coronado himself. Others say the experience was written by a friar who traveled with Coronado and his men. I'm just going to tell you the story. We'll take apart the facts later.
Okay.
So the friar writes, it was the work of El Diablo.
Ooh.
That night by the sandy hills we had been warned by the natives to avoid. Lost we 3 able-bodied men of valor, Juan Viscano, Marco Romeo, and Juan Munez. Imagine if you will, the meme of Charlie from Always Sunny in Philadelphia with his conspiracy of like red string and like freaking out because dots have just connected in my brain.
Wow. No one can see Mackenzie's excited face, and maybe we'll learn what she's talking about, or she's in one of her phases where the dots connect for her and she doesn't explain it at all.
I'm going to write it down so I remember to come back to this. Okay. Anyway, they had been hunting game for the men when the 3 fated soldiers were taken from us in a light bolt of green. So this journal was supposedly translated by Albert Geddes and is referred to historically as the Journal Discourses of Fray Juan de Padilla, 1543. So that's supposedly the friar. Did I say Fray?
Yeah.
Sorry. Well, it is Fray, but friar.
Okay.
I think that's just like title.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it is.
Yeah. But Juan Muniz, remember.
Okay.
Because that we're going to come back to.
Okay.
Another one of Coronado's men, Hernando Bermejo, also recorded the incident, but supposedly he was later ordered by Coronado himself to take it out.
Oh.
Yeah, but this guy was okay, I guess. So there have been other stories of people seeming to vanish into thin air. A pioneer woman in 1897 and a visitor from Colorado in 1987. Both of them said to have vanished in conjunction with mysterious lights, like the green ones.
Mm-hmm.
It is unclear just how many supposedly have disappeared or whether it is all urban legend. Other reports have come in of ghost lights, flickering portals, cases of lost time, numerous instances of electrical equipment going haywire or ceasing to function in the vicinity.
Missing time is like my scariest thing. Like where people will say stories of like they're driving and then all of a sudden they're like 20 miles down the road 4 hours later and they have no idea what happened.
You want to hear something kind of dark that I thought about the other day?
Yeah.
What if like we haven't been visited by time travelers because yes, time travel hasn't been invented, but because it never gets a chance to because we have no future.
Ew, Mackenzie.
Said it was dark.
That is. Jesus.
Another
God.
I don't know. I saw a thing from Apple News about possibly World War III starting. So I was like,
this is the one that does it. Stop. I don't like this. I don't like I don't like this trip we're going to.
Sorry. I figured given the state of the world, I feel like 2024 is our last chance to get our shit together and give us an actual future before the world either burns down by humans or by Mother Nature herself.
Let's go into your scary story. Let's move away from like the world. We're in like...
Another story is that the area is actually a UFO crash site. Reports on what actually happened vary, with some claiming that an object came down from the sky to bury itself into the sand, after which there were numerous nighttime excavations carried out by the military. I even saw one side story on another post somewhere that like it was a family that saw these military guys and while they were camping and the military like takes them in for interrogation. I don't know.
Oh.
And then ends up letting them go, but it's like 10 miles from where they were camping.
Ew.
I only saw it there. So, and I forgot to go back and include it. So that's what I'm telling you right now.
Oh.
Another is about Dr. Mark Thatcher, who was an archaeologist at Oklahoma State University. He studied the region for 3 years in the mid-1990s before shutting it down by, quote, well-dressed people with military backgrounds. I assume these are the men in black we were hearing about before.
Mm-hmm.
Before being kicked out of the area, Dr. Thatcher and his geological team collected a variety of geological samples and discovered odd anomalies, but more on that later. Of course, we have our theories about what is truly happening in that area. In a nutshell, we have an ancient Indian burial ground haunted by ghosts, the site of a UFO crash guarded by aliens.
Typical.
Or the no fun theories that it's all made up.
No, we don't believe that.
Honestly, I don't know. Maybe it is the location of a doorway into another world. Maybe the missing people associated with the green lights were actually killed by it. Or was it teleportation? Maybe it is cursed by ancestors of Native Americans to keep the European explorers from stealing tribal gold.
You know why I kind of think it's evil? Because, and I know this doesn't relate to it much, but like Disney, whenever they have a villain, it's always green. Like the Disney villain color is green. So I'm wondering
or like their magical whatever will be green.
Yeah. Like if you watch, a lot of the villains are associated with green. So I'm wondering if like with these being the green lights, if they're like evil.
Green lightning is actually a real natural phenomenon.
Oh.
Yeah.
Cool.
More on that later.
Okay.
But yes, I like your association with it.
Like being evil.
Yes. Yeah. Maybe because green lightning is still lightning.
Right.
So still ouch if you get struck by it. I'm
but then
assuming.
you wouldn't disappear.
Well, someone said that maybe the lightning what's the word? Pulverized them or whatever.
Oh.
And so that's why they're disappeared because the lightning like
maybe.
Yeah. Okay, we're getting ahead. We gotta go in
as
order.
we do. Yep. Okay.
We gotta go in order. So people go back and forth, obviously, about whether or not they have any personal experiences. So we're going to go over some stuff. There was one YouTuber, Larry Franklin, 3789, who said, I grew up in the area, spent years riding my four-wheeler over every square inch of the dunes. Never saw or felt anything strange. I wish I had, though. So that comment was on a video of Wild Blue TV, and they also shared their experience with going to the dunes.
Oh.
And they said, quote, "We ended up not finding much. Our EMF detector was set on RF. Don't know what that means. So it could have been any sort of radio waves we were picking up there. Nothing spectacular on the night vision or the heat vision. The most interesting thing we saw on the trip was actually on the way back. Saw a guy just sitting on the side of the road, a very remote country road, probably 10 miles from the nearest town. It was night and he was sitting there with a lantern. Reminded me of some kind of lantern ghost out of Scooby-Doo.
Oh.
So just a random guy on the side road just standing with a license or lantern.
Random fact about Scooby-Doo. How many episodes do you think there are?
Well, it came out a bunch of different times.
Of the original Scooby-Doo.
Like original,
Yeah.
like
Original.
no, I feel like there's only like 3 seasons.
There were only 26 episodes.
Yeah.
Isn't that wild
Yeah.
to think about?
A lot of the shows that we watched as kids, Cat Dog is 3, Hey Arnold is only 5.
Angry Beavers is probably the same.
Rocket Power, I think, is 3.
That's so weird because it feels like that you were always seeing a new episode.
No, you're just seeing the same thing
yep.
over and over again.
Yeah.
And our minds couldn't remember it from the last time. So I wonder how many total with like all the variations that have come out.
Oh, I don't know what the variations. I just saw the fact about like the very original one.
Yeah.
Was only 26.
Yeah, interesting. Despite not finding anything to verify the truth of these legends, we have another location kind of west of Beaver Dunes. The geology is a bit different. We'd be more likely to find some caves further west. The area is some kind of wildlife management area too. So basically, not much.
Yeah.
The podcast Paranormal Punchers mentioned a comment on a video about the place that mentioned how the user and their friends would go out to the dunes at the end of the school year. One time, a group of girls had gotten lost in the dunes for 2 weeks.
Oh.
But the only thing that they could remember once they were found was a flashing light. The user didn't think much of it then, but after hearing about the legends of the dunes, they began to wonder if it was connected.
Ooh, I don't want to know more about those girls.
Yeah, well, you told me it's time to cut myself off.
No, well, because you're only 2 hours late.
An hour. God.
Time's going to keep going.
And I brought you M&Ms.
Mini M&Ms, which are even better than normal M&Ms.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's why I said you couldn't be mad. I was like, I can't stop somewhere because I'm already late. What do I have?
Like a peace offering.
Like, here, look, chocolate, don't hate me.
It's like, no, it's fine.
You're welcome. Okay. A few other comments under other YouTube videos about the legend. So Sid Vicious 9425 said, "I live in Beaver. If you go sit out there late at night, sometimes you'll see flashing green lights." Stort's Bench, like mensch. 8339 said, "I grew up in Beaver County, about 30 miles southeast from there," meaning the park. "I went to high school in Beaver, just across the river. By the way, it's Beaver River, in case you didn't know.
I kind of figured maybe.
Been to many picnics and reunions at that park. I had never heard of the Shaman's Portal until a few years ago. I never heard about the 1970s incident from anyone there. I don't know what he's talking about."
Yeah.
Coronado did visit the area. He chiseled his name in a rock there. His signature is still visible today.
Oh, that's kind of cool.
That's about the only thing we can officially confirm. Real Broadway Dre 1539 said, "I'm from Bartsville, Oklahoma. I can honestly say this is a very secretive and locked down state. I've always said things happen here every day that are supernatural."
Ooh.
So as I looked into this legend, I found several reports from experts that the legends are just fabricated stories and nothing more. But as I tried to dive deeper into those experts, I found myself running into the issue of not being able to find any of these fucking people. I know I'm not like an expert or have the patience for really exploring the depths of the internet, but I think for an amateur, I did my due diligence.
I think we do.
So let's start with the legend of Coronado's men disappearing.
Okay.
Coronado did explore the area, and he did not find any treasures. That's all true. But despite that, they were known for being the first to like document and to see like the Grand Canyon, the Rio Grande, like all those big phenomenons.
That's kind of cool.
Out there. The friar who went on the expedition is also a real person, I think. Now my mind is changing. I think yes and no. Okay, so what I found was from the Project Gutenberg ebook, The Coronado Expedition 1540 to 1542 by George Parker Winship. I do think that this report is legit because in the introduction, it says, "Before the completion of arrangements by which this essay becomes a part of the annual report of the director of the Bureau of Anthology, it has been accepted for publication by the Department of History of Harvard University."
Oh.
So I think it's legit.
Yeah.
However, the friars that are mentioned in this text are not the same ones from the journal that was supposedly translated by Albert Geddes. But the one the connection was the Juan Munez that died and disappeared.
Yeah.
That name was in the essay thingy.
Oh.
That was like one of the friars talked about.
Oh, that's interesting.
And they did say that there was probably more than one and that it was hard to kind of figure out what was going on.
Right.
Because of whatever the translation part was.
Right. Connecting red strings even now.
So I don't know. But when I looked into that specific journal, this is what I found.
Oh, okay.
So I didn't find that journal.
Mm-hmm.
And I also could not find Albert Geddes. So
that name does sound familiar for some reason.
Yeah, they Google wanted me to correct it and couldn't find anything. So yeah. So Coronado definitely went there.
Mm-hmm.
Also, friars went with them.
Mm-hmm.
That's all I know for sure.
Okay.
A paranormal investigator, Bo Llewellyn, probably Llewellyn. A paranormal investigator, Bo Llewellyn, was interviewed on a podcast only in OK. And he talked about the research that he did into the area to see if it was even worth investigating. He said that he was given information from who he says is a credible source, which I actually realize he mentioned this girl named Tammy Wilson, which we'll talk about later.
Mm-hmm.
And she doesn't mention the name of her source. But we'll get there in a second.
Okay.
But he's referring to her and what she found out. So let me back up. He talked to this girl, Tammy.
Hey.
Bo Llewellyn.
Okay.
And he said that, I guess it's whatever organization she's from or something she didn't want to say. And she found a person who was credible but still wanted to remain anonymous about the story of Coronado. Okay. Apparently, this guy just completely made the whole thing up on the internet.
Oh.
And he used it basically as clickbait for people to visit his website.
How annoying.
And I think he was writing a book or something. Bo also talked with people who are avid ATV riders in the area and have never had any kind of experience from the legend. And there are also no official reports of anybody going missing. Seems legit.
Yeah.
But when I look into Bo Llewellyn, couldn't find nothing.
Oh.
The link to his website and Facebook is broken.
Oh.
I found an author who has written some science fiction novels. I'm not sure if it's the same guy.
Mm-hmm.
When I tried to click on the link to his Twitter profile, it said the account was suspended for violating the policies.
Oh my gosh.
This is when I started to wonder about the other people mentioned in the legend.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, who else can I not find? So let's go back to Dr. Mark Thatcher. There's a post on Paranormalis that is from 2001 and supposedly from Dr. Thatcher himself. So on part of it, he writes, quote, "Some of us in the paranormal community take this story seriously. I myself have researched this vicinity for about 3 years since the first reports I received from an Oklahoma University archaeologist, name withheld by request. In February of 1995, the geologist I hired to go on my first expedition to No Man's Land in Beaver County found samples of ionized soil cores, an implausible find, and electromagnetic interference that was off the scale. In fact, I found many similarities to phenomenon encountered in both the Bermuda Triangle and the Roswell crash, and some type of cover-up by both local and federal officials. We were, in fact, warned away by some gentlemen in black suits and very official government credentials. Imagine suits in the middle of some sand dunes. The threats to our careers was more than implied if we were to return. Were these the fabled men in black? I don't know. Because of what I did find, not all I can discuss here as yet, it leads me to believe that this is in fact not a portal, but rather a crash site.
Ooh.
A down space vehicle buried under the sand with its star drive still engaged. That was in all caps. This would explain many things: the ionized soil cores, the time-space warping ability of the portal, the green light, and the disappearances. To prove my hypothesis, I must go back. Does anyone want to come with me? ... Sincerely, Dr. Mark Thatcher. So I looked through the staff directory of both University of Oklahoma
Oh my God.
and Oklahoma State.
See, y'all, we do our due diligence.
And I could not find anyone by the name of Dr. Mark Thatcher in any department, let alone.
Could you have gone back?
One had people who were considered honorary professors even after they retired. And I figured that if he happened to be retired, then that's what it would be.
Right.
But even when I just Googled his name, it was all medical people.
Interesting.
Versus, doctor of archaeology or whatever.
Right.
So I couldn't confirm that he's even a real person. But J.A. Hernandez writes about the Beaver Dunes Park legend on his website. He also couldn't find Dr. Mark Thatcher anywhere, but stated, quote, "Unfortunately, I couldn't find any reference at all to anyone called any variation of Dr. Mark Thatcher from OSU archaeology anywhere. However, I did find a tiny lead to someone who may actually know a Mark Thatcher that worked in archaeological sites nearby, in roughly the same time period. I've reached out to this tiny lead in hopes that something will come of it. If so, I'll report back here. For now, though," he does the emoji with the zipper. Nothing was ever reported back as far as I could find.
Yeah.
Okay. So then I stumbled onto this post from a story, Hoaxes, 100 Years of Oklahoma's Haunted History by Tammy Wilson. Real book. Real book.
I love that.
Yeah.
Hoaxes.
But I really couldn't find much on Tammy Wilson except for this book.
Mhm.
When I tried to go to people, definitely was showing me people that I do not think was her, but I could have been wrong. So I found this post on Facebook for a company called Oklahoma Event Company. But just so you know, my computer had to translate the page into English from Telugu.
What is that?
It is one of the 6 languages designated as a classical language by the government of India.
Oh.
So I tried to Google Oklahoma Event Company and I got like 10 best event planning companies in Oklahoma.
Right.
So again, but supposedly the person who runs that page
Mm-hmm.
is really interested in this story. And so she makes this whole comment about the fact that she looked into it and she supposedly, or he, or whoever it is that's writing this, takes this excerpt that I'm going to allude to
Okay.
from the 100 Years of Oklahoma's Haunted History.
Okay.
So this is who I think this anonymous source is that Tammy was able to tell Bo
Mm-hmm.
is why she knew that the whole thing was made up.
Okay.
Still doesn't add up to me. Okay, so she writes about exchanging some strange emails with someone named Davis Humes. When first reading the email exchanges, they come across as ominous and threatening. People disappearing who look into the story, all that kind of good stuff.
Mm-hmm. Naturally.
Towards the end, though, she writes about another email she received from him saying, quote, "It's hard to keep a straight face, ... Before you waste your time with any of this, to which would be a shame, it's all a hoax. There was never a Beaver Sands portal. I made it up as a psych experiment in 97 about belief apart from evidence. It got out of hand and I abandoned it in 98.
Oh.
The internet wouldn't let it die, LOL. No one knows I created it, as well as a good portion of the websites. It's funny the things people believe in. Well, it did help the tourist trade in beaver. Haha. This should tell people volumes about Roswell. Check the history. No one has ever disappeared. Now go find a real story. David Humes. P.S. I'm also Del Trammell, as well as all the others listed from my previous email, because he was trying to be dramatic and like, look at all these people that disappeared.
Oh.
Yeah. And then he says, fun's over, which truly it is. So I couldn't find a Davis Humes.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe she changed his name for anonymity.
Right.
However, when I typed in Davis Humes, I did find a David Hume.
Okay.
And David Hume was a Scottish Enlightenment philosopher, historian, economist, librarian, and essayist who is best known today for his highly influential system of philosophical empiricism, skepticism, and naturalism.
Oh, all right. So kind of on par.
So basically what Wikipedia says is Hume argued that inductive reasoning and belief in causality cannot be justified rationally. Instead, they result from custom and mental habit. We never actually perceive that one event causes another, but only experience the constant conjunction of events. This problem of induction means that to draw any causal inferences from past experiences, it is necessary to presuppose that the future will resemble the past, a metaphysical presumption which cannot itself be grounded in prior experience. So basically, just because something happened then doesn't mean it's going to happen now.
Okay.
Which he doesn't know.
Yeah.
The little voice in my head called anxiety tells me otherwise. It says if it happened once, it could happen again.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I just thought it was ironic that this was maybe it was the fake name
Right.
that they gave this person in terms that it's like this philosopher that talks about beliefs and experiences and things like that.
Right. Exactly.
So this Tammy Wilson person also signed her emails Tammy Wilson, Erie, Oklahoma, which is a real podcast, but she is not on it from what I can tell. She also had another book with this John guy, I think, who was on it.
Mm-hmm.
But when I found the episode that talks about this, it did not say that Tammy was a part of that conversation at all.
Interesting.
And I couldn't find her, and I couldn't find the other author that wrote the 100 years of whatever.
Yeah. Maybe people are disappearing.
So essentially, almost nothing about this story can be confirmed, but it also can't be denied.
Right.
Because all the people that made these claims of like, oh, I heard from this official source, I cannot find them.
Right.
So I'm like, where did you go? Like, if you're this official, I know because I am this credible person,
right?
But I can't fucking find you. So I don't know. But I do like how this Davis Humes concludes his take on legends, even if he's not a real person or a made up name of whatever. Once she finds out about it being a hoax, she asks, like, this is so interesting. I'm writing an article. Would you mind, like, if I used this information, essentially?
The person who said it was a hoax.
Yeah.
Okay.
No. I'm sorry. Tammy. She's asking the person who said it was a hoax.
Right.
Yeah. So she's asking if that would be okay.
Right.
This is what he's saying, and I like it to sum up the story.
Okay.
Nah, I don't especially want to keep it going, but it will, despite what you or I say or do. People like to believe in things like this. My experience has taught me something valuable, though. There is hope that people hold on to that goes deeper than facts will ever support. I think that is cool. It is evidence of something more in itself. The experience also tells me that many of the other, not all, but many of the other urban legends are just as fake. As one who has woven the tapestry, I have begun to recognize the threads of tomfoolery when I see them. I think I would make a decent researcher because of this. I would always be looking for the little man behind the curtain. Please write about it. And if you include any emails in the article, include this one especially. Quote, folks, never check your minds with your hats at the door. True faith is almost always fact-based. Faith based on wishful thinking is nothing but deception waiting to happen. There will always be someone like me lurking in the shadows with a woolen blanket to pull over your eyes. I cannot reveal my true self at this time because it would play havoc in my life. Don't need it now. I won't have to use the mind zapper unless, of course, you find me. LOL. Like the...
Yeah. The Men in Black one.
Now everyone look at the flashy thing as I say cheese. Davis Humes.
I like to think that it's an alien crash site and that it is not a hoax that someone made up because they wanted to.
Yeah, like how do we know that this guy isn't just like an FBI agent and be like, hey, I made it up.
Beautiful point.
Thank you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, he could just be one of the many, like, government people who's like, I don't know what you're talking about. That's not real. I just made it up. How many stories have we talked about where that's been the conclusion?
Right. And the people who have gone missing, somehow someone, like, he just talked about making up the Coronado part.
Right.
Where's all this other stuff?
Yeah.
Because then he also says that he made up the whole, like, Dr. Mark Thatcher thing, too.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I don't know. I could get the Coronado part because whatever. But I'm like, the whole thing?
Yeah.
The whole thing.
I wonder, too, if, like, maybe there was a small legend and then he added on to the small legend, but then other people found out more parts of the legend and that's also how it grew. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
There's more there. It's not, he didn't make this whole thing up.
Yeah, I feel like it built on itself.
Yeah.
Like, if anything.
Yeah. But I feel like it built on itself with, what we like to call facts.
Yeah. But it's hard because you cannot confirm any of these facts. But it's also like, there's still enough there that it doesn't make you think, oh, because you can't confirm it, it must not be true.
Right.
It means you can't confirm it.
Right.
Like, I don't know if what you're telling me is the truth.
Yeah.
Because I can't find you. And I can't find anything to confirm what you say. So
but I also can't necessarily find anything to confirm what you're saying isn't true.
Correct. Because truly, there's only a handful of people that have said any of this.
Right.
So.
And all of those people you couldn't find.
I could not find.
Which I think is interesting. It could be that some people were looking or saying the wrong things, and then the Men in Black were just like...
And it doesn't help that I don't know what they look like.
Right.
So I could have seen them and
but
just
there's
completely
no way to
missed it.
Yeah.
Hopefully, one of them will listen to this and be like, I'm here.
That would be so cool.
That would actually be really fucking cool. So that is definitely the legend.
Okay.
It's a story for sure.
Yeah.
Of the Beaver Sand Dunes.
It is that.
Shaman Portal, Oklahoma, Bermuda Triangle. Whether or not it's true, Some say no, some say maybe.
But it's definitely an urban legend.
It is definitely an urban legend.
Yeah.
That we can confirm.
And urban legends, we never know if they're true or not.
Correct.
And that's what makes them fun, urban legends.
Like Oxford University said, they have some facts in there.
Right. You're just not always sure what that fact is.
Correct. And you can't really confirm and speculate.
Well, nicely done.
Thanks.
Interesting.
I feel like I could have gone so much further.
If time had permitted.
Like really go into the depths of the internet. Sometimes I'm afraid to click on a site because I don't know what it's going to do.
Me too. That's why, like, sometimes there will be articles and it has, like, the hyperlink somewhere in it, and I'm like, do I risk and click it to get more information?
Okay, so speaking of hyperlink to get more information, this Davis guy included some link that other websites had included, apparently said more. It doesn't work. The website's not found.
That's weird.
And like in the excerpt that was supposedly, I didn't read the other book. I could have just totally been scammed by someone who just made up the story. But they said it came from this book, and Tammy read it.
Mm-hmm.
And she like said something, I forget what she said in response to it, but I was like, that link does not work. I've tried it. You cannot open it because, I mean, you can, but it just is like website not found.
I wonder if there was a small urban legend. Mr. Man takes small urban legend and makes it this whole thing. But because people have now heard this big legend, they kind of start looking into the smaller legend, and then they do find things there. And this guy, maybe he's trying to be like, oh no, there's nothing there. Like, all I did was make it up, but there is something there. And someone told him, like, you need...
You think he like maybe deleted the website?
I don't know. I think he has information that he's not saying, and that he's kind of being like, oh yeah, no, I made it all up, completely made up. But like, maybe Men in Black were like, you need to tell people you made this up. Stop looking.
Right, like people are becoming too curious.
Right. And this isn't a place we want people to be curious of.
Yeah, because I think the book, The 100 Years of whatever, came out like recently.
Oh.
Like I don't think it's, let's see, Oklahoma. Oh, wow. It does. They do talk about Shaman's Portal according to this description. So,
Oh.
Yeah, see, that.
I think there's stuff out there.
I can't find where it's, when it was, whatchamacallit.
I feel like things
published.
are being hidden and taken away and deleted.
I have said forever.
Let people stop looking into it.
Yeah, I have said forever that they call the people crazy, so we think they're also crazy.
Yep.
When really, oh yeah, 2009.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, not that long ago.
Like 15 years. What?
That hurt. Didn't have to say that. 15 years is not recent.
No, but we can pretend. It's half our life. Ew.
Bro. Dude.
But no, very interesting story. I think there's something there.
Hopefully we
and I
don't
think they're
disappear.
trying to cover it up. I know. That's what I kept saying. You were like, oh yeah, there's all these people who like, I can't find out if they're, where they are. And that's why I messaged you. Do you think their tails got them in trouble?
I mean, maybe. Or they were characters.
Right, yeah.
Made up
It
as part of, and especially if like that book came out in 2009, like she might not have like if they didn't really write anything else, there might not be like an up-to-date website or whatever.
Could be.
And it seems like this Bo Llewellyn guy might be a little problematic since his Twitter was suspended.
Yeah.
And everything else was like, again, page not found.
Right.
Shoo.
Well, interesting. Good story.
If you have any information that can confirm anything that I've said today or correct and fix anything that I said today if it was wrong,
let us know.
Let us know.
At ascarystatepodcast@gmail.com.
Or you can DM us on Instagram at Scary State Podcast. Not at Gmail, just at Scary State Podcast.
Pretty much anywhere.
Yeah, though.
Rate and review us, like us on places, let us know, we'll send you stuff.
Yeah, it's a wild place out there.
So stay scary.
Oh, please stay safe.